What's good, everybody? Israel, and I'll come back at another video. So with this video, I want to explain to you guys why you need to ignore the world around you and lock in. And the explanation is simple. There are distractions everywhere. There are distractions absolutely everywhere, and all of these distractions are competing for your attention, and they're trying to steal away your attention. And the problem with that is that if they have your attention, then that means they're taking away your attention from yourself, which is supposed to always be your priority, right? For example, there are so many different social media platforms that exist. You have your Facebooks, your Instagram, your Snapchats, you have Thread, you might even have Pinterest, you might have X, formerly known as Twitter, right? You have YouTube, you have all of these platforms, right? I'm not even talking about the previous social media platforms that exist like Vine, right? And then you also have, you can expect to have even more social media platforms moving forward. These are just some examples, right? But these all serve as distractions because they're taking away attention from you and yourself, and they're basically competing for your attention. And what you need to understand is there's a saying that attention is currency. And this is true because if they have your attention, then that means they have your mind. They have access to your mind. And if they have access to your mind, then they also have access to your wallet. And you need to instead let go of all of that and begin focusing on yourself. So when I say lock in, that's what that means. It means focus on yourself. It means bringing out the best version of yourself. It means giving yourself the attention and the care that you deserve, because you are not meant to live your life to just be on social media. You are not meant to live your life to just, to just mindlessly scroll on all these platforms and to try to, compare yourself with the people there. Because a lot of times, right, we can be on social media to maintain relationships and maintain like friendships and be able to get updates and see what's going on with like the lives of the people around us. But my question to you is, why is that so important? Like, I understand the desire to want to know what's going on, but like, I think some of it stems from just our desire as humans to be that we're curious creatures, that we just want to know, that we just gotta know, right? And what good is needing to know everything that's going on in the lives of the people around you or in the lives of the people around the world if it comes at the expense of your life? If it comes at the expense of you letting yourself go and allowing yourself to deteriorate. To me, that's not a trade-off that's worth making, right? You need to let all that stuff go and begin ignoring the rest of the world so that you can begin focusing on yourself, focusing on bettering yourself, growing and improving as a person, right? You need to put things in perspective too. And I like to reflect on this as well to kind of give myself more clarity. There was a time, right? If you're watching this video, if you're the younger crowd, right, you might not know this, but there was a time before like cell phones and technology, right, where it's like if something happened on the other side of the world or in another country, you would probably never hear about it unless you probably hear word of mouth or maybe somewhere in like the newspaper. But there was a point in time where information didn't travel as fast, where there wasn't as much technology. And so people were effectively forced to pay more attention to what they had going on in their own lives. And that probably led to greater happiness because people were more attentive to their own lives, right? They were giving themselves the more attention that they needed to. But now you have all of these companies, businesses, right? Entities that are all competing for your attention, and there's people out there that freely gives their attention away to all of these, entities, that their own life begins falling apart, that they begin to let themselves go and disregard themselves because they're so addicted and obsessed and they're just conditioned to give their attention away. You need to begin ignoring the rest of the world, right? Like, you need to stop watching the news and stop worrying about the news, because oftentimes the stories on the news are negative, explosive stories. Why? Because those are the juicy stories, the drama-filled stories that people love tuning into, right? And that's what gets people watching news, because that is what increases their ratings, right? That's what gets people to tune in to watch the news. So it's incentive for them to provide the bombshell stories, right? But because most of those stories are negative, it conditions people to have a negative, pessimistic view on the world, right? Do you want to have a negative, pessimistic view on the world, right? That's my question to you. Probably not. And so sometimes there can be a story that make you feel like the whole world is falling apart. But then if you step out of your house, you see people have a smile on their face walking their dogs because everything is perfectly fine, right? This is what I mean. How giving your attention away can negatively affect you, can negatively affect your perspective, can negative, like, you begin letting yourself go when you're supposed to be what's most important. You're supposed to be focused on yourself and your well-being. But if you're freely giving your attention away, how can you focus on that? How can you focus on yourself and focus on what's important to you and focus on what matters to you? How are you supposed to grow, get better, improve, and get to whatever it is that you're going if you're never putting your attention on yourself for what's actually important, right? It's the truth. It's reality. And so there's gonna be a point in time, hopefully, that you get to. Hopefully is now. It's gonna be a point in time where you just decide to let everything else go. Even if it's hard, even if you've always been on social media, right? Letting it go, it'll feel like a weight gets lifted off your shoulder, because that's one less responsibility for you. That's one less thing you have to think of. And it begins freeing up so much more of your time, right? You begin to feel more free because you don't have to put any thought into these other things that are actually not important in the grand scheme of things, right? See, Alex Hormozy, he's an entrepreneur and business owner, and he has a lot of clips on YouTube, and he'll talk. One thing that resonated with me, he says that in 200 years from now, right, 99.9% of people are not going to be remembered unless you've done something absolutely amazing in the world. Chances are you're not going to be remembered, right? For most people, 100 years from now, from watching this video, we're probably not going to be here. And so none of this is going to matter. And so if that is the case, right, why not make this life the most fulfilling as possible for the time that we are here? Like, why not make this the most enjoyable experience while we're here? And it becomes a lot harder to make an enjoyable experience if your attention is going elsewhere, right? You need to be focused on building. You need to figure out what is it that you want to get out of life. You need to figure out what are the things that make you happy. You need to figure out, like, the things that have been bothering you, right? Whatever insecurities you have, and overcome that. You need to, right? Like, we're all here in this existence to experience outrageous joy, to be happy. How are we going to ever be happy if we don't truly understand ourselves, because we haven't taken the time to reflect or to appreciate ourselves? Or all day we just compare ourselves to other people because we're on social media, right? On social media, we have our friends, we have other people that we follow, right? So there's always going to be someone that probably has more money than you, that probably has a nicer house than you, that probably drives a nicer car, someone that probably has a better, body than you, someone that probably has a more attractive partner, whatever it is, right? There's always going to be someone with something that's better than what you have, because there's 8 billion people on the planet, but you're also probably following hundreds, if not thousands of people. There's no need to compare yourself, right? You are on your own journey, and your journey is uniquely yours, right? They're on their own journey, and the blessing that they have were blessings that were reserved for them. Your blessings are blessings that are going to be reserved for you. So there's no need to pay the rest of the world any mind. Like, sometimes you need to make sacrifices in order for you to get better and to improve and to grow, right? Like, if you are striving to get a better body, right, sometimes you might need to sacrifice eating chocolate in order to get there, but it's a sacrifice that is going to benefit you moving forward. This is the same idea here, right? If you decide to separate from the world, ignore the world, right? And I'm referring to social media, I'm referring to the news, I'm referring to having to know everything that's going on about everyone and everything in the world, right? Sometimes you need to step away from that and just pay it no mind and just focus on what you have going on in front of you, right? Because that's what's most important. Your life is yours to live, and it should be a life that's worth living, because I don't think anyone wants to live a life that's filled with frustration and anger and just disappointment, right? I don't think anyone would want to have to live in that, right? I think everyone wants or prefers and would love to live a life where every moment we're happy and we're smiling because we've created the life that we've always wanted. And that's what you need to understand about yourself, is that you are a creator. That is your birthright. That's the divine power that you were given as at birth. You are a creator. The problem is when you don't ignore the world around you and you give it your attention, right? You give all these social media platforms your attention, you give the news your attention, you end up transitioning from being a creator to a consumer, because you're always consuming content, you're always consuming all of this information. And if you're consuming, then you're being conditioned to be a consumer, right? Consumers, what are that? Consumers are people who buy things, right? So the same, you'll end up being someone who's just always spending money. So then you see how it takes you down a rabbit hole that can negatively impact your life, because you'll be letting yourself go, because you won't be giving any attention to yourself, because your mind is going to be fixated on other people or other events around the world. You are going to be letting yourself go, and then on top of that, because you've been conditioned to be a consumer, you're just going to be consuming and spending money. You need to be creating more than you consume, because creation, that's who you are. Creating things is what makes you happy, because creation happens from the inside out. It's almost like you allowing your personality to shine through, and you doing what makes you happy, the things that you appreciate, the things that you value. You're sharing that with the rest of the world. That's what makes you happy. But if you're not doing that because you're spending all your time consuming and you're spending all your time being distracted by everything else, it takes away from your happiness. There's no, like, so many people spend so much time mindlessly scrolling, and the whole day goes by and they never did anything productive, or like the day was wasted. That happens to so many people because they're not focused, right? You see now, it's like, I've seen news videos of teachers who would say, like, the children now, they're so, like, I guess addicted is the right word. They're so addicted and so dependent on technology that they don't ever want to write paragraphs. Like, if they get assigned to write a paragraph, they can't, because they just want to use ChatGPT to do it for them, right? They don't ever want to do a math problem because they have math problem solvers on their phone, so the phone would just do it for them. So they don't ever actually learn important skills because they're so dependent on technology. They're so addicted and so reliant on it, right? They start losing a sense of their humanity. Ignore the world around you and lock in, because you only have one life here. You only have one chance, one opportunity. So why not create it, since you're a creator, right? Why not create it the way you want it to be? Why not design it the way you want it to be, right? Don't pay attention to all the other variables. Don't pay, like, all these things, all these entities are competing for your attention. They're all distractions, and they're competing for your attention because they want your mind. And if they have your mind, they have your wallet. They want your money, they want your mind, they want to control you, right? They don't want you to be thinking for yourself. Once you distance yourself from everything else, that's when you can decide where you want your life to go. That's when you can learn the information, the appropriate information that you need to learn, so that you can improve and get better, so that you can actually make a difference in this world. I think that's what people also want as well. Not only do they want or to think to live a life that's happy, I'm sure that they would also want to make a difference in the world where they're actually helping people, right? So that their life was meaningful and it was, beneficial, and other people appreciated their existence, right? That is what will happen if you decide to step away from everything else that's not important. Like, what good is being on social media, needing to know what's going on in the lives of everybody else, needing to be up to date with everything? To me, I I don't see the benefit in it. It's just good to know, but it's not something that I need. And so I completely got rid of it. Right? Doesn't matter if all my friends are on social media and I'm not. Doesn't matter if I'm having a conversation and someone says, "Oh, you don't know that this happened. You don't know this is going on," and because I've been living on the rock, I'm okay with that because I understand that I am my focus and that's what's most important because I'm designing the life the way I want it to be. And you can only do that, like, truthfully, if you decide to ignore everything else. Don't allow your life to be determined by other people, be created by other people or the direction of other people, right? Your life is yours to live. And letting go of all those things will free up so much time and will free up so much mental space that you can lock in and focus on what's actually important because you have so much greatness and potential that exists within you. And the only way for you to tap into that is by getting rid of all the other things that are competing, that are distractions, right? That are competing for your mind, your energy, right? Let all that stuff go. Because in the grand scheme of things, it's not actually important, right? What's actually important is you. What's actually important is what you have right in front of you and your development and your improvement as a person. So get rid of all that, ignore all the distractions, eliminate the distractions, and decide on what it is that you want to accomplish, decide on what is that the direction that you want to head to and focus on that. Because if you know exactly where you want to head to and where you want to be, as long as you're taking steps towards achieving that goal, you are successful. That is what makes you a success in this life. So figure out what you want and take steps towards that. And everything else that is not helping you get towards that, just get rid of it, right? And you'll feel how much lighter you are, how much less you have to worry. You'll see your happiness level and everything increase because there's less drama, there's less problems, there's less issues that you have to think about, right? And you have greater mental clarity and you're going to find peace within yourself. So you want to be great in this lifetime, you need to let go of everything else. You need to ignore the world around you, ignore the problems, the drama, get off social media, get off the news, get off all of these things and eliminate all these distractions from your life so that you can focus on what's actually important and create the life that you've always wanted. So that wraps up the video. Enjoy the video. Do leave a like and subscribe as we're on the road to a million subscriber, guys. So once again, it's Sherwell and I'm out. I'll see you guys for the next video.